Just to recap what we learned yesterday. Yes.
Can we just go over from 145 from when Yiddish starts to recap? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just recap because I don't want to relearn it. It's a very long mimer as it is, but of course, when Yiddish starts is Emuna is by Ale Eden. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
Faith, Emuna is by all Jews. All Jews have faith. His galus. The Rebbe says in a revealed way, Onei bafilu venamol is the emuna behelem. And even if at times, amol means sometimes, the emuna is behelem, concealed, that's a Hebrew word, because the Rebbe is making a statement, and the Rebbe is saying, by a Jew, his emuna, her emuna is revealed. That is the rule. The exception to the rule is that sometimes it's concealed. So, what are you to do when there is that exception? Is durch ahisoider kala, through an easy arousal, a lightweight arousal, vert zi nesoider. She, referring to the emuna, is aroused. If you just give it a reminder, kind of, you will succeed in arousing the faith that there is within the neshama. Aber kein avoida of them badarf menit haben. However, service, meaning real hard work, one does not need to accomplish the arousal of the emunah. This is regarding faith. Mashen Kain, conversely, of Btach, regarding Btach, trust, but darf men avoida. There you do need lots of work. As der Btach soll sein, so that the trust should be nicht nur in dibur bavad, not only in speech alone, nor in maise bepoel mamish, but in actuality as well. This is, and then he brings the Alter Rebbe, that interpretation of this last part of the verse, Ura e emuna, feed your emuna. What does it mean to feed your emuna? According to the way we're learning here, Tuvia, in this mimer means feed your betochen. Moshe, do you see? If you look at the verse in Tehillim, Btach b'Hashem v'asei toiv shchon aretz ure'ei emuna, it's simply talking about feeding your emuna, your faith. But what the previous Rebbe is interpreting here, that no, that's really referring to feeding trust, because Btach and trust needs feeding. Otherwise, feeding meaning you got to work hard at it, right? You have to, if someone doesn't want to eat, or if you're married to a spouse who's very thin and doesn't like eating, and they're always thin, you want them to eat more. So you're always trying to find ways, how can I gain more weight? There are people that have an issue gaining weight, right? So it's a very big, for them it's a very big issue. So you have to keep on feeding them. So the Rebbe says, for betochen, you have to work at it. For Emunah, you don't have to really work at it. All you have to do is remove the dust. So that's why we see in life, at times people, all of a sudden, their faith is rekindled, and it's done not in a difficult way, but rather an easier way. So according to what we're learning in the Maimer here, that's the difference between B'tachin and Emunah. This will hopefully be clarified more later as we go on, but that is the premise that he sets right here in the beginning. And he said, and one second, and he says, and this continues to what we learned yesterday and what we're going to learn today, he said that he gave us a mushal. He gave a very beautiful mushal of a fetus that, depending on its food intake and its liquid intake, does it grow in various ways. And it impacts not only the body, but also the seichel. The mind is developed, and one's articulation and understanding of concepts called intellect is enhanced through food and drink. Now, seemingly, this is enigmatic. Why? Because what is food? What is gashmias? How can gashmias make an impact on ruchnias? Right? It's two different worlds. One is the world of physicality. It's tangible. The five senses relate to it. Whereas ruchnias, it's spirituality. It's totally ruchnias. So the Rebbe says, yes, but we see with food that the food you eat, the type of food you eat, and the amount you eat, and when you eat, and all those details make an impact on the way you think. Yes, Shmuel.
It reminds me of the story that the Alter Rebbe brings in Tanya from the Gemara. And they asked, I think it was Rabbah, a question, and he didn't have an answer for them. And the next morning he had an answer. And they said, why couldn't you answer it the night before? He said, I didn't eat this from the Torah. I didn't eat the meat of a ox until today.
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly. So thank you. So we see that food makes a big difference. So too, that's the mushal. Every mushal has a nimshal, a moral. What's the nimshal? The nimshal is that when you will engage in heavy artillery, spiritual artillery called avodah, you will work on yourself in the kiyum of mitzvahs, in fulfillment of mitzvahs and Torah with effort. In other words, it won't be just very easy, but you'll, to make the mitzvah really rich and great and special, it took a lot of effort and koach. That will make an impact on your b'tach. So in other words, b'tach, trust. If someone says, I don't have enough b'tach in Hashem, what is the advice given to us right now at this point in the Maimer? It is, you need to avodah, you need to work harder. Meaning you need to expand what you have inside. It's there. It's there. You have to assure the person it's there. But it hasn't been expanded. Just like there hasn't been enough liquid or food to expand brain consciousness, etc. So too, in the moral, that's the case. So this is what we learned over here. Yes, Yoni, you wanted to say something or ask?
So my question is that we're talking about the difference in Mura and Btach. So the Chabad way of, let's say, bringing people towards mitzvahs in the environment and fill in, is that something to light a spark in their Amunah, or that's something for them to start working on their Btach alone?
I would say that's more shaykh to Emunah. More shaykh to Emunah. Because you want to reveal what they have. And once they reveal what they have and they know that they have it, then they can start working on it to enhance it. Let's continue now, 147. Second paragraph. To understand this more clearly, 147. Moshe Rabbeinu of blessed memory is called the trusted shepherd, the loyal shepherd. What does this mean? It means that he is the one that feeds and sustains Jewish souls with emunah. Very interesting. We have a Moshe. What?
Simple type. It's not the simple type. The simple type is he's a faithful shepherd. He's faithful with the Jewish God.
I understand. Okay, fine. Yes. That Moshe Rabbeinu helps a Jew expand his emunah throughout his body, throughout his consciousness. So this is a chiddush, like Shmuel said. This is a novelty. This is not the Pirush HaPoshet. Okay? So I'm glad that Shmuel pointed that out, because if you go into a regular yeshiva and you tell them this taich, they'll say you're an apikoros. This is not the simple meaning. It means he's the faithful shepherd. But of course, this comes in line as a continuation to what we're learning before. So it's you could say a play on words if you want to You could say it's a deeper interpretation, another interpretation. It's not a contradiction to a faithful shepherd. Or you could even say, how is he a faithful shepherd? How? Because he helps a Jew. He helps us reveal and expand our emunah. Let's continue. And by the way, that, Moshe, is the answer why we need a Rebbe figure. Why did the Baal Shem Tov, forget about Chabad, why did the Baal Shem Tov introduce the concept of Rebbe and Chassid? This is one of the answers. Because a Rebbe, we believe, is a Moshe Rabbeinu in the sense of helping us reveal our emunah to the point where, and Btach, to the point where it will expand throughout our consciousness and help us in Torah mitzvahs. So a Rebbe figure is an aid, an assistant, a pointer. Now, of course, if they say, well, every rabbi could do that, every Rav could do that, every Rosh Hashiva, it's a whole discussion. The answer is they cannot do it, and I don't want to go into it now. But the Baal Shem Tov's Chiddush is this idea. So this isn't just Chabad, this is based on teachings of the Holy Baal Shem Tov. It says in this section of the Zohar, Moshe leposik taiba begavayu. In the Torah, where it says Moshe, over there, Moshe's name is repeated one after the other. So it says leposik taiba begavayu. There is no cantillation in the trup, in the reading of those words that separates kind of a comma or a pause in between the words Moshe, Moshe. Why not? Because from the day he was born, he was complete. So if there were to be an interruption between Moshe and Moshe, it implies some imperfection. But the Idri Rabbah says that this shows us that Moshe, from the day he was born, as an infant, he was already complete. Tichsiv, as it says in the Torah, V'Torah isi kitayfu. And it was seen, kitayfu, that he is good. V'Amar Rabbeinu Zal, Rashi brings us, the rabbis teach us, shenesmale habayas kula eira. The entire house was full of light, implying, Yaini, that Moshe is all good, he's all complete. Now he introduces Moshe the concept of two types of servants of Hashem. Hillel, did you ever hear this before? There's one that's called Oved Hashem b'nishmasam. A Jew who serves God with their soul. Another group is called Oved Hashem b'gufam. They serve God, but it's called b'gufam. Now we don't mean here that one is learning Torah and one is eating bagels. That's not what we mean. We mean both are learning Torah. But in the manner of learning Torah or doing mitzvahs and serving Hashem, one is called a body-like approach, and one is called a soul-like approach. In Hebrew, Oved Hashem b'nishmasam, that's one. Another category is, number two, Oved Hashem b'gufam. The difference between the two. The Oved Hashem begufam, those that serve Hashem begufam, who should tzrichim levarer ulezachech gufam umidesayim. It's those people that have to refine their body, their midos, their character, and they have to be mevarer. Their gufam umidesayim. In other words, they're rough and tough, They're not refined. So they have to, first and foremost, become a mensch, become more refined as far as their character and behavior. What about the other category? Those are those individuals. If you look at their bodies and their behavior and their midos, they're perfect, complete. You look at them, you say they need no avodah. So why did their souls must come down below? The entire purpose, hurak b'shvil azulas. You hear this? They didn't come for themselves. Because they themselves, there's an expression in Yiddish, it's an edel geboren. Edel means refined. Sometimes you meet a person, I remember in yeshiva, I have a friend, Baruch Hashem, he lives in Kfar Chabad today. From the first time I met him, I felt just a refinement of a person when he was 17 years old. And he's the same way today, and he's my age. There are people that, for whatever reason, whether their parents are credited for it, whether it's Hashem's all doing, whatever, they're edel. So if they don't have to refine their character, why did God send them on earth? So the Rebbe says they came on earth for one purpose. They came on earth b'shvil hazulas. They came here to help another person. They, for themselves, Duvia, they wouldn't come down here. They don't need this mess and this aggravation. Why were they sent here? Only to help another person. So this we call Oivdei Hashem b'nishmasam. They serve God with their soul, meaning that the mode of operation of these people is so like. They don't need to worry about gufam, about their character and behavior, because they have it all right. Now, of course, we're all probably thinking, how many people are like that? You're right, there aren't many. But however, there is two distinct categories. V'zeu shlim ha'haveh. And this is what we mean. This is what the Idra Rabbah, the Zohar, means, that Moshe Rabbeinu at birth was complete. The entire reason why the soul of Moshe came below, for one and one reason only, to receive the Torah from Hashem and to teach it to the Jewish people. Otherwise, Moshe Rabbeinu would have never came down on earth. You hear that? Very interesting. He came, Pinchas, he came there for you and I. He came there for you and I. The Rebbe says this is the difference between Avraham, Avinu, and Moshe. Because by Avraham, psik timer. By Avraham, there is in the Torah a cantillation that separates the two words that are next to each other. Whereas by Moshe you don't have that. Why? If you look at Avraham, the way Avraham is in what we call the world of Atzilut, the world of emanation, compared to Avraham, the way Avraham is in the world of creation of Bria, there's no comparison. It's two different Avrahams. Right? And as the Alter Rebbe writes, Bigeres HaKodesh, in his Igeres HaKodesh in the 4th section of Tanya, Siman Tesvav chapter 15, he writes there, I heard this from my teacher, probably meaning the Maggid or Mendel Vitebsk, Al Posik, regarding the verse, quote, Avram says, Anoichi offer, I am dust, va'efer, and ashes, she'amar Avram Avinu olav hasholim, which Avram said, al ha'oresh nishmasai, he made this statement about the emanation of his soul, ha'me'ira begufay, that illuminates his body, me'oir chesed elyon, from the light of supernal kindness, and he says, this energy, Tovia, that enlivens my body, he says, is just dust. I am dust and ashes. V'hi midosai midas avarabba. And the Rebbe says, contained in this experience is the attribute of abundant love. He loved Hashem, who ava gedola v'elyona, with a tremendous, supernal, and great love. Kol kach, so much so, achenasa he became a chariot for God. In other words, you go into the car, you turn the keys on, the car goes. You go into the wagon, the horses go, you just sit and you relax and you talk and you schmooze and you drink, and the wagon goes because the horses are pulling it. You become a Merkava. Avram was a Merkava, to God's will. In other words, when Avram came, when you turned on, beep, push Mr. Avram, he does what Hashem wants. He didn't need any special instructions. It was automatic. That's the idea of a merkava. Let's continue. And you might think, Shebchinas chesed v'ava, top of 148, Shelamayla, B'sfiras el yonis. You might think that kindness, Hillel, and Ava, and love, as they are from the perspective of the supernal spheres, he may ain v'sug mehus midas Ava Rabba shel Avraham Avinu l'sholem, that there's a comparison. It's a me'ain. It's somewhat of the same essence of the Ava Rabba that Avraham has, the way Avraham is in the higher spheres. In other words, Avraham on earth, Moshe, was a merkava, a chariot for God's will. Nevertheless, the Rebbe says, you might think that because he was so humble and so united and bottled for God, that he on earth was the embodiment of the love that he has for God in heaven. Says the Rebbe, just that the difference between the two, in other words, it's the same category, okay? It's the same category, just the difference is in quantity, but the quality is the same. Says the Rebbe, and he says, because it's known that the heavenly spheres, Yodi, have no end, and on their own, they're infinite. God's infinite light shines in them in actuality. It says, he and his lights, he and his kalim are one. So, I'll explain in a moment. Whereas, once the soul is in a body, that's enclosed in the material corporeal body, which has a limit and a border to its being. Nevertheless, yes, there is a difference between Avraham, the way that Avraham is body and the way Avraham is in the body. But you would think that the quality is the same. The quantity is the difference, but the quality is the same. That's why Avraham said, "V'anoichi ofar ve'efer." You have it all wrong. There is no comparison between the way I was in the spheros in heaven and the way I am on earth. And the way I'm on earth, I'm just but offer, dust, v'efer, and ashes. And he explains, just as ashes are from the very essence of the piece of wood that's burnt, hanisraf, that was comprised of what? Of the three elements of fire, wind, water, and dust. The Gimel Yesodis, what?
Four elements.
The Gimel Yesodis, Eish, Mayim, Ruach, Cholfu, V'holchu, Koshan, and what happens when it's burnt? The piece of wood is burnt. The three elements of fire, water, and wind are Cholfu, V'holchu, they evaporate, Be'oshan, in smoke, Hamisava, Mahakavosan Kinoida, that's created from when they are combined. So when you have all four together, it creates smoke. The Yisaidat Dalit comes along, the fourth element, Shehoya Be'etz, which is in the wood, Shua Ofer Sheboy, that is considered the dust element within the wood. Hayered Lamata, what happens to it, Moshe? It descends below, and it doesn't rise in smoke. The Ein Ha'esh Sheiletes Boy, and the smoke and the fire doesn't dominate it, and Hu Anisher Kayim, it remains intact. In what form? V'hu Ha'efer, and that's the ashes. So the ashes, Yoni, are the Ofer element intact, right? There's Eish, Ruach, Mayim, Ofer. the 3 Eish Ruach Mayim go up in smoke, and what's left below are ashes, which contains the 4th element, offer. The entire essence of the wood, and its tangibility and materiality and its form, in length, in width, and in thickness. You took a look at this piece of wood, at this beam, at this column. You saw it before it was burnt. What was its primary resemblance? So the Rebbe says you should know this big, thick, long piece of wood. What is it? It's an expression of offer. Yes, Shmuel.
It makes it even more intense. The explanation by eight something into a tree, a beautiful fruit tree that bears fruit, compared to the offer.
Okay, but he does. Yeah, but he doesn't say it here. Okay, it's true, but he doesn't say it here. Okay, fine. You can accept that, no problem. Rak she'eish mayim ruach klulim boy. In this piece of wood, in this eitz, there is fire, water, and wind that's incorporated in it. Ki ha'ofer hu chomri b'yoser mikulam. Why is it that what you only see is the eitz, which is the offer, but the other 3 are subordinate? It's because the offer is the most chomer, the most material of the 4 elements. It has length, width, and thickness. You hear this? This is science. Anyone there a science major? You should relate to this. Conversely, regarding fire and wind, v'gam hamayim, and even water, heima'at mizer be'etz. There's very little of that in the eitz. V'chol orkei v'rochbei v'ovyoy, in its entire length, width, and thickness, hakol hayamin ha'ofar, it all comes from the dust. V'hakol shovel ha'ofar, and it all goes back to the dust when it disintegrates. Shehu, yes, Shehu Eifer Hanishir Acher Shenifru Limenu Eish Mayim Beruach. When does it turn back to its essence? When it goes into the form of Eifer, after its particles of fire, water, and wind are removed from it, it remains in the form of ashes. V'hine. Just like ashes have no comparison, Moshe, no erech, no worthiness to the essence of the eitz, the large tree, with its length and reichav and its width, guess what? There's no comparison between the two, not in its kamus, and not in its quantity, and not in its quality. There's no comparison. Hey, how did it get here? It got here from the 4 elements, but nevertheless, there's no comparison. Here finishes the mashal. Now he goes to the nimshal, to the moral. So too in the moral. Avraham said about his own midah. Midas HaChesed ve'ava, which is the midah of kindness and love. Hamira boy, that illuminates Avraham. Umulubeshes begufay, and is invested in his guf. The af shehihi. You gotta read those words. Shehihi. It is. Of midas ha'ava v'chesed ha'elyon shebatzilas ha'meir b'nishmasei sha'ishem nekavol yoyma. The ava and the chesed hillel that Avraham has as he is on earth, it is the same ava and chesed of supernal that exists in Atzilus, that illuminated Avram's soul, which made him a chariot for God's will. Afal Pikain. Nevertheless, B'riddo lemato, when Avraham descends below on earth, lislabish begufei to include. Well, I'm sorry. When the Ava v'Chesed of Atzilus descends below to invest itself in the body of Avram through the progression and descent of what's called the worlds, from level to level, through many gradations and retractions. There's no comparison whatsoever between the light of Ava HaMeir Boy El Mahus Ava V'Chesed Elisha Batzilis to the Ava that there is an Atzilus. Basically, what we're saying is like this: Avram below his Chesed and Ava, it comes from the Chesed and Ava in Atzilus, right? The way it is for Avram and Atzilus, but nevertheless, there's no comparison between the two. Ela ke'erech v'dinyan. The only comparison is an association, like Mahus Ha'afar, like the essence of the dust, Shenasa Efer, that becomes ashes, El Mahusay Ve'chusay, to its essence and quality. Kishayeitz Nechmad Lamada. This supports Shmuel's argument, the position. Like when it was a tree that was desirous for Lamada, for appearance, and also, okay, he says appearance, doesn't say eating, but the Toiv L'Maichel, here he says eating, good. Al Derech Moshe. So in other words, when you look at a tree and it has nice fruit and it's a beautiful tree and you want to pick its fruit, you want to eat its fruit, the bottom line of Chesed and Ava, that's delicious, that's wonderful, that's so special, that you have there. But you don't have the same quality and definitely not the same quantity. You hear? In other words, in a tree, there is the Dvar Hashem, right? Yehi Eitz. It says in Bereshis. The Dvar Hashem is, let there be a tree, Yehi Eitz. Now, are you going to tell me that when you take a fruit and you cut an orange on your table, or an apple, you make a bracha, and you make a bracha with kavanah, and you're not eating inappropriately, eating appropriately, are you going to tell me that you feel the same Yehi Eitz the way it is in its source, the way it is in God? No. It's not because you're a human being and you're limited. It's because the Yehi Eitz, the way it is from the Godhead perspective, and the Yehi Eitz, the way it is in the human perspective, are two different Yehi Eitz. And Hashem wants it to be that way. So the example he gives us is of the four elements, and then you burn it. So the three go up in smoke, and what's left in the ashes is the fourth element of. But are you going to tell me that fourth element of offer, dust, the way it is in the ashes, is the same to the way the dust was within the four elements pre-burning of the eights? Absolutely not. In other words, I think what he's saying also is, if you were to do a measurement, a scientific measurement, if you were able to do this, and to find the four elements in the eights, pre-burning of the eights, and after burning, you'll see there's no comparison between the offer within the element, within the tree before burning, and the offer within the ashes after the burning. Does it make any sense what we're saying?
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, does anyone have a scientific are you science? Do you have knowledge of this in science? What would this be in in today's science? Hillel, would you know what this would be?
Well, I think that at the core of science is the mystery of how any existence is sustained. So the form of something and so on. So you can describe it in the language of science. You can describe a tree as a mixture of fiber and a mixture of liquid and a mixture of space. But the question of how it maintains its form is like the mystery at the core of science, and he's explaining it al pisod in this beautiful way, as it comes down from heaven. That's the.
Okay, Ashikoyach. Now, Moshe, now we have a new project for you. At some point, you will please try drawing a beautiful piece of art to show the difference between a beautiful tree before the fire and a beautiful tree, and emphasize the offer element. That would be a pretty innovative type of piece of art. And definitely when Lubavitchers and others learn these Maimorim, we could make a sale on those pieces of art. Okay, let's continue. And the Rebbe says that v'yoysim ezeh lahavdil ba'alfei havdolos. As much as the offer within the ashes doesn't compare to the offer pre-ashes, how much more so be'elef lahavdil ba'alfei havdolos, so much more and more, no comparison and distinct and removed, is the Ava and Chesed of Avraham, the way it's in Atzilus, to the Ava and Chesed, the way it is in Avraham on earth. Now you understand, we're talking about Avraham Avinu. We're talking about the individual who had such achnosis archim and such love that he was suffering and in pain, and he goes and he brings in people. And what we're saying is that what Avraham is saying, and the way the Alter Rebbe interprets it, and the previous Rebbe puts it in writing here so beautifully, is v'anoichi ofar v'efer. Avraham says, everything I do, guys, all my chesed and all my ava, compared to the way it is in its source, it's just dust and ashes. There's not even a comparison. Rak shedibre Torah be'loshen b'nei adam b'moshel u'melitza. However, the Torah, this is a general rule, the Torah uses verbiage and in a way that's used for moshel u'melitza, for riddles and parables. In other words, we need to, if there's no comparison between the two, so how can you even talk about it? So the Rebbe says that we have a rule in learning that we apply moshel u'melitza. We use words that are symbolic of the issue for us to clarify a certain point. So for a moment, don't think, in other words, don't think that the Ava and Chesed that Avraham had on earth is for a moment the Ava and Chesed, the same quality and quantity of what he had in heaven, in the spheres. That's why there is a separation in the Torah, in the cantillations, between Avraham. To make it clear, Moshe, that what? They're two different Avrahams. The Avram of Atzilus and the Avram on earth are two different Avrams. Right? Psik time begavayu bein Avram la-Avram. Shavram shelamayla b'Atzilus. Eina be'erech, the Avram in heaven in Atzilus, is no eina be'erech, has no association and comparison la-Avram de bria yitzira v'asiya. Now tomorrow what we're going to learn is about conversely with Moshe. Somehow Moshe's experience and what Moshe represents is such a yichud, such a level of unity that that this Moshe Rabbeinu on earth is the entire Moshe Rabbeinu. And we'll see what he says tomorrow. Yes?
Rabbi, why do you think he didn't make a distinction here in the lettering between Avram without a hay and Avram with the hay? Meaning to make a distinction between, the way that Avram was during his lifetime.
No, that's not here. Over here, that's earlier in the Torah. Over here, it's Avram with two hays.
The word melitza. Can you just give me a translation? The best word for melitza.
I don't know. I use the word melitza like a riddle. No, Shmuel, what would you say melitza is? An illustration. An illustration.
Okay.
Yeah. Seid gesund, Chevra. Have a great day. Avraham, go for it. Seid gesund, everyone. Take care.